Hello, and welcome to a short and sweet, emphasis on sweet episode today. I am going to take just a few minutes of your time to answer a question that I get all the time. It is constantly coming up with the athletes and the active adults that I'm working with. What do I do about my sweet tooth? And first, I'm just going to say from the bat, what do I do about my sweet tooth poses it as a problem that we need to fix. And I just want to say here and now, if you are someone that, has a sweet tooth or craves those kinds of foods, there's nothing wrong with that. I have this theory, side note for a second. I have this theory that there are two basic flavor palettes that exist in the world. And there are people that love salty things, pickles, olives, mustard, things like that. And then there are people who love sweet things, candy, chocolate, desserts. And obviously, it's not a perfect black and white, but more often than not, I have found that the people that love pickles and love mustard and olives and things like that tend to be the type of people that can say, "Oh yeah, I can pass on Halloween candy no matter what." And the people that tend to not like those things are the people that are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't control myself around Halloween candy." So that is my theory. I know it's not a perfect theory, but if you feel like you fall into that, let me know. I would love more evidence. Obviously, if you're listening to this episode, you probably fall into the I have a sweet tooth category. And I first want to help you understand, where is that craving coming from? So half the time when I'm talking to someone with an injury and we're going through a typical day of food for them, they'll maybe mention that breakfast is not a very big meal for them. Their day is pretty chaotic, so lunch is hard to get. And then they have a normal dinner, and after dinner, they're like, I just really, really need a sweet treat. I'm pretty hungry, or that craving is really strong. And a lot of times that craving can be really strong because you're not eating early in the day. You're not fueling your entire day. So, one strategy, which seems counterintuitive sometimes, but one strategy is I need you to eat breakfast. I need you to eat lunch. I need you to actually fuel for your day before dinner time. Another kind of piece of that puzzle is sometimes we crave those kind of hyper indulgent type foods if we're not getting enough carbohydrates. So also make sure that you're getting carbs with every single meal. And I promise you, you need them for your rehab. So include them. Most people need at least a kind of fist size serving or two at every single meal. And my really active athletes might need 3 or 4 fist sizes of rice or pasta or whatever that looks like for you. So if you, again, habitually are always like, I really want this chocolate that's burning a hole in my fridge, are you getting enough carbohydrates throughout your day? The other piece of understanding this craving is our brains are pretty smart. What a silly sentence to say, but our brains are pretty smart and intuitive, and they know what they want. It knows what it wants, right? It wants that chocolate. It wants something sweet. And the more you try to fight that, the more you say this is off limits, the more you do not allow yourself to have it or enjoy it, the more your brain will want it. The more that signal in your mind will get stronger and stronger until you quote unquote cave, or you just, you can't white knuckle it anymore and you need to go have something. So I'm going to say, give yourself permission to have that food that you are craving. That can be very helpful in and of itself. Now, if you are the type of person that I say, let yourself have it, and you automatically think, Emily, if I have chocolate chip cookies in my house, I will eat all of them. Girl Scout cookies, for some reason, are a really big example with this. I can't just have one Thin Mint. I'm going to eat the whole sleeve. So I just don't buy Girl Scout cookies anymore. There are a few mindful strategies that we can do here, because again, we're going to let ourselves have it so that we don't fixate on it. But we're going to also make sure we take the time to enjoy it. Sometimes I talk about you have multiple different types of hunger going on in your body. You have your stomach hunger, your physiological hunger. You have that signal from your brain of like, eat the chocolate chip cookie, eat the chocolate chip cookie. You have that kind of craving hunger. And then sometimes there's also a little bit of an emotional hunger going on, and we need to make sure that we're addressing all three. So, of course, we're going to listen to when our stomach is feeling hungry, when our stomach is feeling full, and we're going to check in with that. You also need to, when you eat the piece of chocolate, when you eat the chocolate chip cookie, whatever it is you're deciding to include, you need to make sure you're quote unquote present with that food so your brain can pause and take the time to recognize that it's getting that itch scratched. So even if it's just the first bite or two, a strategy that I'll use sometimes is before you take a bite of, again, I'm going to keep using a chocolate chip cookie as an example, but before you take a bite of the chocolate chip cookie, scale of 1 to 10, how delicious do I think this is going to be? Like 10 out of 10, I'm really looking forward to it. Then take the bite. How satisfying was it actually? Was it 10 out of 10 and like, oh my goodness, we're going to savor this cookie? Or is it like, this one's not really doing it for me. We're only like a 5 out of 10. Maybe I don't need to be obsessing over these cookies. I don't even like them that much. So give yourself almost an anchor with that scale of 1 to 10 system to decide how satisfying it really is. And then the emotional piece is that hunger usually comes from, not usually, sometimes comes from a feeling. We are craving the chocolate chip cookies because we're bored. We're craving the chocolate chip cookies because we're sitting in front of the TV and it's just kind of a habit to have something to eat or do while we're also watching TV. We are craving the chocolate chip cookies because we're sad about our injury or we're feeling left out from our team, whatever that looks like. Clearly, that food is a tool in your toolbox to handle that feeling of boredom, of whatever. But once you can recognize what that is, you can also build out other tools in your toolbox. So then you can make the mindful decision. I'm about to sit down in front of my TV. I'm bored. Yes, I could grab some chocolate chip cookies. Actually, tonight, I'm also going to grab a coloring book. So I'm going to eat my one chocolate chip cookie and then I'm going to color. So I don't sit down and eat the whole sleeve or, whatever that looks like for you. You can build out that toolbox. Another way that you can think about how to include these foods is if you have consumed any of my content, you know that I would like athletes to build a performance plate at every meal. And on that plate, we're looking for carbs, we're looking for protein, and we're looking for color. You can include your craving foods within your performance plate. So your chocolate chip cookie would be included in the carbohydrate section of your plate. And we still build out the protein, we still build out the color, and we add nutrition to that meal in addition to the craving. You can do that with snacks as well. A good rule of thumb for snacking is we want 2 food groups together to make sure, at least one of them can provide some nutrition for us. So again, if I'm going for a chocolate chip cookie and that's a carbohydrate, then maybe I want to pair it with a little bit of protein. Maybe I'm going to dip it in some vanilla Greek yogurt. Maybe I want to pair it with a glass of Fairlife chocolate milk or a protein shake. Maybe I want to pair it with something that has a little bit more fiber. So I'm going to have some fruit with it. Again, it's not about removing that thing you're looking for. It's making sure we can add the pieces to our puzzle. Or you can also just eat whatever you want and it can count as the 20%. I have never, ever, ever told any athlete that I expect them to hit their performance plates 100% of the time. I think a lot of people forget that there is always wiggle room, and it is totally okay if you just want to eat a Snickers bar sometimes, or again, whatever the sweet craving looks like for you. You don't have to pair it. You don't have to include it in your performance plate. You can just include it as part of that 20%. So all that being said, I hope I can take some of the guilt that a lot of injured athletes feel around these kind of indulgent foods away, regardless of what stage of rehab you're in. I hope I can take some of that guilt away and like let's stop that mental spiral that can happen sometimes with these foods. And also, some people just want to swap. They want a high protein option that's going to satisfy their sweet tooth, or they want an option that they define as healthy or helpful. So I have a list of that together. I'm going to link that blog in the show notes, but it includes, well, personally, my current sweet tooth obsession is there is such thing as chocolate hummus. I like to cut up strawberries and put it into a bowl with a couple tablespoons of the hummus and just eat it with a spoon. That's been my post dinner sweet treat lately. You could also put chocolate chips in your Greek yogurt if that's something that sounds good to you. I have recommended this a lot, but strawberry Greek yogurt, a tablespoon of peanut butter, and some frozen, keyword frozen, chocolate chips is a fantastic snack. It's got the protein that we're looking for. It's salty, it's sweet, it's got a little bit of crunch. Personally, this has been an obsession snack of mine for multiple years now. I recommend it all the time. I also like those Yasso ice cream bars, not necessarily because of the 5 grams or whatever of protein that's in them, but because there's portion control. And it's just nice when that's built in for you when we're trying to have a sweet treat, and then we don't have to maybe use the mental energy to put things on a plate or check in some of these mindful ways that I've talked about. I also like sugar-free chocolate pudding as an option, chocolate-covered fruit, or like a tablespoon of Nutella and a banana. All of that is totally fine. Sugar is not going to harm your rehab. Including foods with sugar will not harm your rehab. And sugar gets a really bad reputation because it's very quick energy and we get that energy spike and crash. So when we can pair that sugar with things that slow it down, things like fiber, things like protein, things like healthy fats, that's even better, right? But if you want to have some chocolate, if you want to have some Nutella, if you want to include these sweet tooth cravings, I think that's totally fine. I don't think it's going to interrupt your rehab at all. I think if we're forgetting the other pieces of the puzzle, the other pieces of our performance plate, or skipping meals altogether, that's going to disrupt your ability to heal, your ability to kind of follow the timeline that we want to follow more than the sweet treat that you want to have after dinner. If you have any sweet treats that you love, or maybe some mindfulness tricks that you have found helpful throughout your rehab, or just an experience with all of this throughout your rehab, I would love to hear it. You can put it in the comments here, or you can put it in the comments on Instagram, or you can send me an email, however you want to share it. I would love to hear from you. And as always, any questions that you want to ask, my DMs are open, or I would love to have you in the Injured Athlete Lunch Club. That is a free, open WhatsApp group where we're sharing all of these ideas and stories every single week. Happy fueling.